Unbelievable how Gauff made history as the first American woman in 10 years to conquer Roland Garros. For years, Roland Garros had been a puzzle no American woman could solve. Its red clay, slow and stubborn, had a way of stripping away the shine of big hitters and dazzling baseliners. It turned power into patience, speed into strategy, and talent into torture. And year after year, the elegant brutality of Paris crushed the dreams of those chasing a title that once belonged to legends. But on a warm, golden June evening, as a low sun washed the court Philippe Chatrier in a molten glow, a 22-year-old American with fire in her spirit and thunder in her steps finally rewrote a decade of drought. Coco Gauff, phenomenon, fighter, prodigy turned powerhouse, stepped into history the moment she lifted the Coupe Susan Lenglen above her head. It wasn't just a victory. It was a revolution. A journey written in clay, sweat, and destiny. To understand the weight of this triumph, you have to go back to the days when Coco Gauff was only a girl with braids and big dreams, sprinting across junior courts with energy that seemed almost supernatural. Even then, coaches whispered about destiny. Even then, opponents felt the force of her hunger. Yet clay was never supposed to be her surface. Not the way she played. Not the way Americans trained. Not the way her explosive game seemed allergic to patience. But Coco never cared for limits. Instead of reinforcing her comfort zone, she crushed it. Year after year, she returned to Europe early, grinding through clay tournaments, slipping, sliding, learning, adjusting. She studied the ledge of the surface, broke down points frame by frame, and practiced patterns that transformed her into one of the most complete clay court players since Serena Williams. This wasn't a miracle. This was a master plan, executed with old-school discipline and next-gen flair. The Paris that made her and almost broke her. Roland Garros held a special place in Gauff's story long before she won it. At 18, she reached her first Grand Slam final here. She cried during the ceremony, overwhelmed, not by defeat, but by the feeling that the moment was bigger than her. She promised Paris she would return stronger, and Paris remembered. At 21, she was upset early, shattered by expectations and burdened by the growing pressure being the future of American tennis. Critics sharpened their voices. Headlines questioned her growth. Analysts doubted her mental resilience. But Coco Gauff is not built from fragile materials. She used that heartbreak like fuel. She used those doubts like oxygen. She turned pressure into precision. Her evolution from talented teen to unstoppable champion wasn't smooth. It was volcanic, a tournament that felt scripted by fate. The 202X Roland Garros draw was brutal. Champions everywhere. Threats at every stage. But Coco walked into Paris with aura. Eyes steady, footsteps certain, movement sharp like a blade drawn with purpose. Something had shifted. Something about her presence felt inevitable. Her early rounds were a message. She dismantled opponents with speed and clarity, covering the court like she had mapped every grain of clay herself. Her improved forehand, once a target of every game plan, now exploded with heavy topspin and unreturnable angles. Her serve gained sting. Her defense, still unmatched. But most importantly, her mind was quiet, laser-focused, untouchable. The quarterfinal was a war. A 3-set thriller against a top-5 titan who blasted power like cannon fire. But Coco's legs never slowed. She turned defense into counterattacks, so sharp they left the crowd gasping. Her roar at match point was less celebration and more declaration. I'm still standing, and I'm not going anywhere. The semifinal was a masterclass. Facing a veteran clay court magician, Gauff produced the most mature performance of her life. She absorbed pressure like a sponge and squeezed back with brilliance. Her line shots sang. Her drop shots danced. Her court vision was near telepathic. Paris began to buzz. This might be her year. The final, a battle bigger than a match. The final was a type of showdown Hollywood directors dream of. Two stars, two contrasting styles, two destinies colliding under the Parisian sky. The stadium trembled with anticipation. Chants echoed. Flags waved. The world watched. Her opponent started strong, striking with precision and unshakable rhythm. Gauff fell behind early, her timing slightly off, her nerves whispering doubts. But champions don't fear storms. Champions use them. In the second set, Coco transformed. She began sliding into shots with the confidence of a Spanish clay king. She chased down balls at physics that were unreachable. She mixed pace like a veteran chess master disguised as a 22-year-old warrior. Point by point, she dismantled her opponent's spirit. She took control of the rallies. She took control of the stadium. She took control of history. The deciding set was Coco at her purest. Fearless, relentless, poetic in her aggression. At championship point, the crowd rose as one. Holding breath, gripping hope, heartbeats synchronized. Then came that forehand. A blistering, impossible winner down the line. Silence. Then an explosion, cheers, tears, history breaking open. Coco Gauff had conquered Roland Garros. And she did it with the heart of a giant. One, she proved that American players can dominate clay again. Her journey opened doors for a new generation. Coaches began redesigning training plans. Young talents discovered new possibilities. Clay became less of a curse and more of a challenge worth embracing. Two, she became the face of a global era. Her charisma reached beyond tennis, into culture, fashion, activism, entertainment. She became the rare athlete whose presence became bigger than her sport. 3, she inspired millions. Kids saw her victory not as a triumph of a superstar, but as the victory of a girl who worked harder than anyone else. A girl who refused to believe in ceilings. A girl who turned her vulnerabilities into weapons. 4, she made tennis feel alive again. Her personality, her athleticism, her storytelling. Gauff brought electricity back to the courts. Every match felt like a movie. Every moment felt monumental. The legacy that begins now. Winning Roland Garros doesn't mark the end of Coco Gauff's story. It marks the beginning of her empire. This was the title critics said she couldn't win. This was the surface they said didn't suit her. This was the pressure no one believed she could shoulder. But she proved everyone wrong. She carved her name into Parisian clay, permanently, irrevocably, triumphantly. And as she stood on that podium, trophy shining like molten gold in her hands, she looked less like a rising star and more like the new heart of tennis. A champion, a leader, a legend in motion. Final thoughts. The victory the world needed. In an era desperate for new icons, Coco Gauff delivered. In a tournament desperate for new magic, she created it. In a sport desperate for new role models, she became one. Her Roland Garros victory wasn't just unbelievable. It was inspirational, historical, emotional, and transformative. The clay of Paris will remember her footsteps forever. The world will remember her roar. And American tennis will remember her as the one who broke the drought, shattered expectations, and conquered the unconquerable. Coco Gauff didn't just win Roland Garros. She reclaimed it. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.